All right, welcome back to another edition of the Phya Academy video newsletter, everybody. It's always great to have you. Today we're continuing our talks in the theme of heroism. My beautiful people, I always love talking with you. And as always, if you want to catch the first 3 videos in the heroism theme or any of the other previous videos in this newsletter series, you can click that link at the bottom of your email. That will take you to the Phya Academy video playlist on the YouTube channel, right? So you're going to have access to all of these great videos. Today, we are thinking about heroism as it relates to the idea of striving, the idea of achievement, right? Because heroism, as we've been detailing, is based off of personal struggle, personal sacrifice, the achievement of something great, of something worthy, and then the sharing and the spreading of that knowledge back with the community. This is the universal trope of the hero's journey. And we investigated that a little bit last week, actually, but also in the very first Phya Academy video where we talked about Heracles or Hercules, right? He's the archetype of the athletic hero. He's the archetype of the moral status of the athletic lifestyle, right? And when we think about this notion then of striving, one of the ways that we can think about striving is through the notion and through the idea of challenge, right? And one of the elements of heroism is how much challenge should we take on? How much should we challenge ourselves? And when we accomplish a challenge, do we rest or do we go out and seek another challenge? Do we go out and seek more information, more new experiences, more new achievements? So what we're really trying to establish here is the depths of heroism as it relates to the consistency of our actions. Is heroism something we do one time, or is heroism a way in which we can live our lives? And I thought that a contemporary athlete who most people probably haven't heard about would be a really good example of this notion of continual striving. And this is mountaineer Joao Garcia, one of the world's most impressive and accomplished mountain climbers. So Joao is one of a handful of people who's climbed all of the world's tallest mountains. So he's climbed every single mountain over 8,000 meters in terms of its peak. And he has done so without the help of supplemental oxygen or with local guides or Sherpas. There's actually less people who have done this in the world than have gone into space. So he is part of an elite group of mountain climbers. Now, how do you endure the physical pain, the physical struggle? How do you make the necessary sacrifices in terms of training and preparation and travel and isolation and not seeing your friends or your family? It's clear to accomplish something this impressive that Joao has had to sacrifice a tremendous amount, but the corollary, the opposite of that, right, is his achievement. And one of the reasons I love Joao's story, and it's one I teach in my sociology class every year, is his determination. And this quote, it just sticks with me. It's one of those quotes that lingers in the back of my mind all the time. When we reach our dream's horizon, another horizon unveils. And if you think about the physical act of climbing a mountain, right? You're journeying up, you're climbing, you're going through these extraordinarily dangerous passes, where numerous people have died before. And then you reach the summit and you reach the top and the world stretches on forever, right? I've never climbed a mountain over 8,000 meters in my life before, and I'm assuming most of you probably haven't either. But just imagine, put yourself in those shoes, right? And then when you see that, is this accomplishment or is this potential, right? Is this I'm finished or there's more out there for me? And what Zhao teaches us, right, is whenever you climb a mountain, there's always another mountain out there to climb. And he also gives us this really intriguing example of what to do as an athlete, like when your body breaks down, right? Because Father Time's undefeated. He's not out there climbing mountains anymore. But what he's done is he's taken on a new challenge of being an ambassador for the sport of mountaineering, and in particular, his extreme variant of mountaineering, right, without the supplemental oxygen or the use of local guides. And so he promotes himself, but he also promotes safety equipment. He provides opportunities for young people. And one of the things that he's really done is inspired people in his home country. So he's Portuguese. Portugal doesn't have a real big history of mountaineering. And what his accomplishments tell the people in Portugal is just because you come from one place doesn't mean you can't achieve something great that somebody who's come from this place hasn't done before. We often talk about or see the importance of examples, right? People who set their own path and then allow others to follow in their footsteps, right? And that's what a hero does. A hero blazes a trail for others to then walk behind them. And Zhao has done this in an extraordinary and exemplary manner because for him, it's not just one challenge, it's not just one achievement. It's a continuous habit of finding new challenges and approaching them with the right ideals for sacrifice. And this relates to the importance of those achievements. Now, this really resonates with ancient athletic wisdom, particularly from ancient Greece. And it's the idea of the competitive spirit or the agonistic spirit or agon, the contest, right? Why we must always strive. The Greeks were fanatical when it came to competition. They competed in everything, competing in politics, competing in sculpture, competing in drama, competing in philosophy, competing in mathematics, competing in war against each other. So clearly, competing in sport fits very nicely in with this cultural acceptance of the need to compete, right? But why must you compete? What is it about competition that relates this noble quality? I think this quote from the philosopher Demosthenes gives us a very good understanding. If you are better than those whom you encounter, do not cease trying to excel everyone else too. Consider that your aim in life should be to become foremost of all, and that it is more to your advantage to be seen to aim at that eminence than to appear outstanding in ordinary company. This is the ideal of striving. This is the ideal of taking on challenges and not settling. We all have a potential. We all have a destiny that we could fulfill, that we could reach if only we applied ourselves, if only we made the right sacrifices, if only we dedicated ourselves to that achievement. And it's never enough. Once you win, you find the next competition. This is reflected especially in the ancient athletic competitions. You would start out in your local city-state or your local region, maybe winning the crown there. But that's not enough. Then you go on to the next circuit, right? You move up a notch, maybe into one of the major Pan-Hellenic festivals. They're sort of major and minor athletic festivals. So if you can win at some of these minor festivals, well, then you go on to the major festivals. And if you can win at the major festivals, well, then where do you go next? Well, you go to the Olympics, right? The biggest of all. And if you are an Olympic champion, what do? You come back in 4 years and you try to win again. And if you do that, you come back in another 4 years and you try again, or you try in another event. You never stop striving. You never stop trying to go for that achievement. And Demosthenes' quote, I mean, I think it pierces I think it pierces people because it aims directly at their acceptance of mediocrity. It is more to your advantage to be seen to aim at that eminence than to appear outstanding in ordinary company. Don't settle for being a big fish in a small pond. Always try to find the bigger pond, no matter what size fish you are. So when we connect somebody like Joao with Demosthenes' proclamations, which represent the general competitive zeal of the ancient Greeks, we start to get this understanding of heroism that is very different than what we often assume it is, right? That heroism is a brave act or heroism is courage. Those are true, but the way we should understand ourselves if we want to be heroes ourselves, or if we want to live a more heroic life or a more heroic existence, is that heroism is not an outcome. Heroism is a mode of being. It's that continual striving. It's thinking about achievements that no one has thought about that can be accomplished. So for Joao, right, that's being this exemplar mountaineer in the coming from Portugal. Other examples that we've talked about, Roger Bannister breaking the 4-minute mile, right? This psychological barrier that couldn't be broken. But once he did it, the floodgates were open, and a handful of people did it within a few weeks of him doing it. So again, this idea of a mode of being is that we never stop. And if there's something that we think we can achieve, we should aim for it. And if it's something nobody has ever done before, well, that's actually something we should really consider trying, because that will clear a path for others. Right, so what does it mean? How can we take that lesson of the necessity to continually strive if we want to live a more heroic life and to have the people around us see that we are trying, see that we are striving, see that we are sacrificing, all in the name of achievement, but not selfish achievement, achievement that does better our communities? It means that you always have to set your eyes towards something that's a little bit beyond what you can accomplish. You have to be able to reach. Otherwise, you're not growing. And it's really that element of growing that is the satisfaction, that's the happiness, that's the fulfillment, that's the meaning. So when you want to do something that's internally motivated, you must pick something that challenges you, because you're going to get bored of something that's too easy. You're going to get discouraged if something is far too difficult for you. So we need to be realistic in setting our goals and setting our challenges. And we always have to have something that we're reaching for. That reaching forces us into sacrifice. When we achieve, then people can see what we have done, and we can provide them with inspiration. This is why competition is so important for the ancient Greeks, because it's a public display. It's a public performance. Without that, how would anybody know if your sacrifices have been worth it or not? And that's not to say the winner made the right sacrifices and the loser made the wrong sacrifices, right? Because there's still achievement to be made in the fact that you've put yourself out there. It's not winning or losing. It's setting challenges, attempting to meet them, and if we have temporary setbacks, well, we don't quit. We keep on striving until we achieve our goals. It's that continuous mode of being that a hero should really emulate. And it's not just that one great big play, one great grand act, that one courageous moment. Certainly, we want to be able to act in those moments. We want to be the hero. But we'll never be a hero. We'll never be able to recognize our opportunity if we're not consistently living in a heroic way. If we're not consistently striving then we won't recognize the opportunities where I may be a little bit out of my comfort zone. I may be a little bit out of my expertise, but somebody's got to act, and it's going to be me. If you're not always constantly challenging yourself, whenever a challenge presents itself to you, you're not going to be willing to undertake it, right? So that's kind of why, as a hero, or as someone who wants to live more heroically, consistently striving puts us in the proper framework to be able to act in those moments that people obviously associate with heroic acts and heroic deeds. So always challenge yourself. Never stop striving. This is the route to your meaning, your purpose, and your happiness, but also towards being identified and understood as someone who is engaging in heroic acts, living in a heroic manner, and one who is capable of fulfilling heroic roles and performing heroic actions. All right. Go out, be a hero this week, everybody, and I will see you next week. Thank you so much for spending the time today with me.